Hey friends, it is Ryan Frank. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Chat with Ryan Frank. So glad that you are here. It is Tuesday, and for those of you friends in the United States, happy Thanksgiving week. Hope that you have a wonderful week with your friends and family. I am joined by Melodie Bissell, my dear friend with Plan to Protect. Good morning, Melodie. How are you?
Ryan, it's great to be with you today. Yeah,
Well, thanks
I'm
for being.
doing well.
Melodie and I were talking a couple weeks back, and we were talking about all the great resources that Melodie's ministry, Plan to Protect, has to offer the church and children's ministry leaders. We start talking about kids being home right now because of being quarantined and doing e-learning, and how they're spending so much time on their devices and their Chromebooks. And the need to protect kids online is probably bigger now than it's ever been. Do you agree, Melodie?
Absolutely. We've got a tremendous opportunity to connect with kids like we never have before, but it also poses lots of risks.
It does. Let's talk about that. Tell us some of the risks that you've discovered and some of the points where our kids are vulnerable.
I think there's three main ways that kids are at risk. One of them is through the conduct that can happen online.
Mm-hmm.
An example of that is in a grade three Sunday school class with 8-year-olds. A young Sunday school teacher was doing a lesson by Zoom, and one of the children, 8-year-old girls, put up as a backdrop on the Zoom call a picture from her father's computer. She grabbed a picture, put it as a backdrop, and it was a porn picture.
Wow.
And the young girl freaked. She ran out of the room, leaving the picture up. The young Sunday school teacher, who was just a college-age student in Bible school, she didn't know what to do. She was alone on the call with the other 8-year-olds, and it created quite a havoc. So that's just one example. Plus Zoom bombers, plus people trying to get access to these kids, getting way more opportunity for contact like never before. And then you've got your traditional, which we've been dealing with for many years, cyberbullying, which can
Yeah,
happen.
that's it.
So there are a lot of risks.
Yes. Now, at Plan to Protect, and if you're not familiar with Plan to Protect, Kidman friends, you really need to take some time. Melodie, your website is plantoprotect.com.
Yes, it is.
Um,
Yeah.
and one thing that you talk about a lot is that as the church and children's ministry leaders, we need to have a plan to protect our kids. And you offer such a wide variety of resources, but let's talk about this in particular. What are some things that we can do, you feel like, to help parents protect their kids online, especially during a time like this?
I think that we don't know what we don't know, and I think the church has an opportunity both to role model excellence in this arena, but also to educate as we do family ministries, to really educate parents about the risks online. So I think even providing workshops and seminars for parents on online safety. We have a webinar that we gave out free, and it's available on our website, and it's for parents on the risks that children face during COVID-19. So I think education is a key piece, but I also think that we should be really role modeling to parents what they should be able to expect from every other caregiver and organization out there that's doing online
Yeah, what,
ministry.
what kind of so what kind of things should we be role modeling? Let's dig into that one for just a minute, if you would. So how can we as leaders role model for mom and dad? What do you have in mind? What are a few things?
Well, when we do ministry on Sightline, we always say there should always be two screened and trained adults in the classroom. The same thing happens online. Anyone who's doing online engagement, you should have two adults view it as a classroom. There should be 2 screened and trained adults on that call. The insurance companies are really recommending, and if not requiring, that you video record the event so that if anything goes wrong, you've got a witness and a testimony. You've got something that you can use. I think a key thing is to make sure that you get both senior leadership board approval from your church or your senior pastor that you can do this ministry online, because often it's outside of regular scheduled program hours, and also get parental permission. So one of the documents we've provided free during COVID is an online permission form, where you share with parents what the risks are and how the online program is available. Depending on the age of the kids, you may not be doing something on live, but recorded, like on YouTube. But just restricting access for chat and interaction with children, those are all ways that we can help prevent any kind of injury, harm, and abuse from happening, but also role modeling accountability, integrity, excellence. Finally, I think one key thing is everybody these days has Zoom. We should have bought stock in Zoom.
Yes, we should.
Buying your program and my program would have been, we'd be well positioned if we had bought into Zoom.
Very true.
But I really think that any online engagement we do should be on the platform that's licensed to the church, not free platforms that any of your volunteers can get access to with Zoom. It should be licensed software that has been purchased and paid for by the church, that the church has control over. And that will demonstrate a lot more accountability and provide way more elevated supervision.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Melodie, you mentioned briefly that you all you put together these COVID-19 resources that you're giving away. We're going to put a link to that in the show notes. So if you're watching this on Facebook or you're listening to the podcast, if you go to later on today, if you go to kidsmatter.com and you go to the podcasts at the bottom of the page, and click today's podcast, today's coffee chat, you'll see the show notes. We're going to put the links. This is a free resource. Melodie, will you tell us what's all in this COVID-19 resource pack that you put together?
Yeah. There's a complementary policy document for online engagement. This is something that we did as a service during COVID, just because we knew everybody was going online, and we were really concerned about the safety of children and young people, but we are also concerned with protecting volunteers and staff members from wrongful allegations of abuse. So we drafted with our advisory board a complementary policy statement and also an informed letter of consent. There's a number of free webinars and recorded webinars on there. There's a link to my weekly podcast. There's other notifications and opportunities, but there's a lot of free resources in that portal.
I love it. And it's all free. So check the show notes. If you are on Facebook, Melodie, I'm trying to remember. I know you text me. You sent me a link, didn't you, to the COVID resource?
Yeah, I think I emailed it to you, Ryan.
That's right. You sent me that in an email. Perfect.
Yeah.
So we will put that link into, there it is, into the show notes for you, so that you can access that free gift later. Melodie, for someone who's never heard about Plan to Protect, would you take a minute and just tell us about your ministry and about the training and resources that you have that we all as children's ministry leaders need to know about?
Well, just very quickly, Ryan, I've been in children's ministry my whole career. For 40 years. Mm-hmm. I've been in children's ministry, and it wasn't until probably 20 years ago that the insurance company asked me what I was doing to protect the children. And I would have said, for sure, everything. Safety is important to me. But at the time, they really challenged me with what we were doing and that we had to qualify for abuse coverage. I realized that we were not qualifying at that point for abuse coverage. So I started a journey that really changed the trajectory of my life and my ministry. I started reading the lived experiences of children that had been abused. And I thought about how many times in our ministries we're telling children things like Jesus is always with you. He's always there. He loves you. He knows all the hair on your head. He knows your name. But how is that interpreted by children that are being abused? And how do they understand that? And do they not believe that Jesus loves them or that God doesn't exist? And so that really changed the trajectory of my life. So I started researching, writing policies, developing training. And I thought, well, if I have to do all this for my ministry, everyone else has to do it too. So I really decided that at that point, I would just start making these resources available. I partnered with a couple of other key children's ministry workers that had done just excellent work on child protection. And since then, we write policy statements, policies. We've written a number of resources. We have online training. We've certified over 3,000 trainers to deliver our training within their churches. We help people understand documentation management, be able to qualify for abuse coverage. But for me, it's not about abuse, Ryan. It all comes down to let's stop abuse from happening. Let's recognize when it is happening. And let's demonstrate to children the heart of God, that he really loves them. And I believe that God is calling the church to stand in the gap when it comes to issues of child abuse.
Yeah. Well, Melodie, you're making a big difference.
Thank you.
I know that, your ministry has made an impact in our church, and you're a great partner to the church. And so, Kidmin leaders, if you're not familiar with Plan to Protect, please go check it out. Melodie has some great training, some of the best training you're going to find in her school. It's called the Plan to Protect School, right?
Yes.
You're going to find some great courses, some great resources, and take advantage of the free COVID-19 packet that they put together with all of these links. Again, we'll put a link to that in the show notes. Melodie, thanks for your time today. Thanks for joining me on the coffee chat.
It's fun. You didn't buy me coffee though, Ryan.
I didn't. I'm sorry. I need to get up there to Canada and buy you some Tim Hortons coffee, don't I?
I think it's warmer where you are, though.
It
maybe.
Probably is.
We've got snow on the ground, but happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, we do have snow.
I love it.
But happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thank you, Melodie. Yeah. Melodie Bissell, plantoprotect.com. Melodie, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ryan. Bye, everybody.
Friends, thank you for joining me on today's coffee chat. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time. Keep up the great work. Let's keep the conversation rolling in the I Love Kidmin Facebook community. And if we can serve you anyway today, please reach out and let us know. We're only an email, a phone call, a Facebook message away. Take care. Thanks.